Welcome, welcome, my friends, to another Cosmo Whispers video. Tonight, I've got something a little different than normal. Usually, whenever you see me in this tabletop format, you're thinking, oh, it's going to be an eating video, or maybe a coloring video. But no, because in this video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. And this video needs a little bit of context, so get ready for just a little bit of a ramble before we get started. I don't know why it really wants to focus on this glass over here. This glass of snake oil. Anyway, so when I was around 11-ish years old, maybe 12, I wasn't really allowed to do like a lot of video games, gaming, stuff like that. I had a very strict schedule of how much of that I could do, which I think is really healthy and important. And it forced me to come up with other ways, of course, to entertain myself. And one of those ways was I would create little card games or just games in general for myself to play. And especially with cards, with like a normal deck of cards, because they were just really accessible and easy. And, well, basically, when I was around 11 or 12, I was like, what? I want to create a game that I can play with, like, by myself, but also play with other people that kind of had almost like a dungeon crawling element to it, or almost like a deck builder / dungeon crawler. So I started trying to come up with my own card game that I could play using a normal deck of cards. And this was not inspired by anything in particular. I didn't know. I have since then seen people on the internet talk about other games that you can play that are in a similar fashion to this game, but at the time I had no idea. So this was a completely original thought in my head at the time. Bear that in mind. And this was back in 2012, 2011, 2012, somewhere in that range. And now me and my family actually play the game together quite a bit. I mean, I'm not for a long time, but we did for a while. And I still play it with people on occasion. And I also play it by myself sometimes. So, tonight, we're going to be playing that game together. I'm going to show it to you. You could maybe play it yourself, or you can just fall asleep to me playing this. And hopefully you have a little bit of fun with it. Hopefully you find it mildly interesting. Bear in mind, I was 11 or 12 when I made this, so there are definitely some flaws to it that I still feel like I could work out better. But I think that it was honestly pretty okay for what it was. And I enjoy it a lot more than like solitaire. I'm not really big into solitaire. I don't find it that interesting. It doesn't scratch a certain itch that this game kind of does. And so, to start off, let me just say that if you've ever played the card game War, this is kind of similar to War. It does definitely have use your top card against their top card, and whoever's card is higher, that person gets both cards back. And whoever ends up with no cards in their deck wins. And if you both have the same card out, that starts a war, and then you have to use your next card. I don't want to get into those rules. It's not that important. I'm not explaining every card game in the world in this video. If you guys want a video where I explain every card game in the world, let me know. Anyway, so this game, which at the time was also called Card Wars. I know Adventure Time, that's an Adventure Time thing. I don't call it that anymore, but it's the only name I ever had for it. Otherwise, I just call it the card game. Cosmo's card game. I don't know. You can call it whatever you want. It's pretty simple for the most part. You are a player. You're going through a dungeon or a battle, whatever. Again, you can imagine whatever you want. This is your experience. And you use the cards that you are given to fight hordes of enemies, which are other cards. You use black cards to attack, and you use red cards as your health. Pretty simple. But face cards all have set values as well as special abilities that they can use only once, and then they will be discarded forever from your deck. So, I think, and I don't know how you feel, but I find that the easiest way to learn is to watch me play it. I could explain all of the rules right now, but I don't think you'd really grasp it that well, but I will explain as I play. So, I have this deck of cards, which is actually, I believe, 3 decks combined. I have this deck especially for this. And that is just so that the odds of getting things are a little different, and you can get up to 3 of the same type of card, which is just adds to the fun. So, there are also other things you can collect in certain streaks and things like that. So what I will do is at the beginning, you will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. That's what you get. Then you will place 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna move these cards back a little bit. Well, that card isn't gonna be used for anything right now. 4, 5, and then 6. Okay. And you set them up like this. Usually, sometimes I do other things because I just find it to be kind of fun. Okay. So this is what brings in the mystery. There are 6 cards of undetermined value. We don't know what we are facing up against here. We have our own 5 cards. We have and I'm just gonna say it because the actual types do not matter. It's just about the colors. A black 4, a red ace, a red 8, a black 10, and a red 6. So, here I will be placing, and I should probably move these up just a little bit more so that I'm, you guys can see everything. But I'm going to set my black cards in a row over is not looking good. It's actually not a bad setup that I have here, but I'm not having a face card could seriously damage me. For making it through more than one of these, which I call this a wave. So, these are my health cards. These are my damage cards. I can take one of these cards and basically go and fight any of these 6 enemy cards that I do not know the value of. If I go with this 4, let's say, and try to take this card right here, I will flip up that card, and it's a 3, and I have a 4, so I win, and that 3 becomes part of my deck. So that's actually very nice. That's a pretty rare occurrence for a 4 to be very valuable in anything. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, Cosmo, that's pretty simple. What happens if you had lost? If I had lost, let's say I had a 2, and I went to take that 3, and the 3 damaged me. My 2 would have been flipped like this, right? And the 3 would still be up there, and I would not be able to use that 2 for the rest of this wave here. And on top of that, I would lose this 1 or ace, and it would be gone permanently from my deck. Now, considering this was a 3, let's say I didn't have this ace, right? And I couldn't take the 3, and the 3 beat me. This 6 health is higher than the 3, so the 3 would actually not damage me. That's kind of how the armor works. If you're not a nerd, this might all sound insane, but I am, so this all makes a lot of sense. So, but let's say this 3 was like a 7 or higher, by the way, and I had a 6. Well, that would technically, I would lose this 6. And if you have no health cards, you're done. You die. That's it. So, I took a 3. That's very useful. I'm going to use my 10 now to explore and battle this card, which was an ace. Now, I'm glad we got this, because this is interesting. So that ace is nice for that, but I don't think I'm going to do that because it's very difficult to get that. And I'm just not sure it's worth saving it, because the other thing you can do, and this doesn't matter if it's black or red, if you have 2 of the same type of card, you can discard them and pick up 1 card from the deck. We call that making the trade. Or it's technically supposed to be like a shop or a merchant. You trade 2 of the same cards for 1 card of unknown value. Sometimes you could trade 2 aces, which are the most useless card unless you have all 4 of them, or unless you get 4 of them. You could trade 2 aces, and you could get like a king, and then that's really, really worth it, because there might not, if there's a king in here, I have no way of defeating that king, because I have nothing, so you kind of need to be able to do that. It helps you to get cards that are actually important and valuable. So I'm actually going to do that tonight, because I don't want to risk not having something that could help me here. Yes. So that was a win. That was a good choice. I don't know why nothing wants to focus. I got a red queen. Queen of hearts technically, but that really doesn't matter. All red queens do the same thing. All black queens do the same thing. So this is when we get into abilities. Okay, first of all, the Red Queen is a great card. It's one of the best cards in the game, period. Because the Red Queen has an ability that can be used one time and then she's gone forever. And it wouldn't matter in her case because the Red Queen's ability is a revive or restart. If you use the Red Queen, you literally will get rid of your whole deck and get 5 new cards out. It's basically a player reset. So if you don't like your hand, you can use her to either revive a dead player in your, like if you're playing with more than one person, or you can use it to restart your own deck or someone else's if they ask you to do that. It's a really good card, and we're going to use that potentially if there's something in here. Would you hear that? That was my elbow. We're going to use this if there's something in here that I can't defeat, and we're rolling the dice. It's luck. We don't know what we're going to get. So I'm going to take my 10, and what's nice about 10s are actually one of the best cards as well, because attack face cards can only be used one time per wave, and then you have to flip them over. They have a one-time use per wave, whereas 10s, all number cards don't, and 10 is the highest number card. So it's actually one of the best cards for that reason. I can continue to use this 10 to, I cannot get this card to flip up, to do this. And that's actually really easy. I got the 6, and my friends, we have 2 6s now. Oh, there we go. It's also, this mat is really, really slippery. Does not help with things. Okay, so I have 2 6s. Now, I could keep these and have more health, but I'm still not super psyched about my deck here. And leaving yourself with 2 health is basically the minimum you ever really want to do. You don't want to, unless you have like a king, a red king, because that has such a high value that it's very unlikely anything will be able to destroy it other than another king. I think I will probably make the trade. And then pick up a 4. Now, I have another 4. I could do it again. And in fact, I am. I'm shrinking my deck here, but I'm hoping for something better. Oh. Ouch. I got another 4. So essentially, I lost health, and that was about all that happened out of that entire situation there. That's kind of a bummer. That's okay though. So what I want to do next is continue to take enemies, and see if I can take them all. This wave might have nothing strong in it, and I might be able to be totally okay. The other thing I should say is that after 10 comes jacks. Jacks have a higher value than 10. Then queens, which have a higher value than jack. Then king, which is the highest value card, period. There are ways to take kings, however. The other thing I should mention is you are never allowed to have more than 9 cards in your deck. 9 cards. So there will always be an offset. You will always either have more damage cards or more health cards, which just adds a little fun to how you want to build your own character, right? You can build your character as a bit more of a damage dealer or as a bit more of a tankier character. So, if you're playing with other players as well, by the way, this is something that must be said. Once you've reached 9 cards, you can actually either discard cards. You know, whenever you take a card, you can't have any more, right? Than 9, so you either have to discard one that's in your deck, or you have to just throw it away. Once you've reached 9 total cards, once you have a maximum of 9, you can actually give cards that you take to other players. But you can't do that before then, so there is benefit Or you can just give them cards that you actually kind of do need, but maybe they need more than you do, right? Like if I had 9 cards, and my friend really needed my 10 for some reason, I could give them my 10 if I had 9 cards and took another card, making it so that I had too many. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. We're going to keep playing. So I'm going to take this 10, and I'm going to take this card right here, which is a 7. Honestly, that's a really good card. Solid. 7 and 8 are also, like 7, 8, 9 are also great cards. They tend to just be solid. Dependable, I would say 7 and 8 are better in attack card format. Face cards are the best for health. Damage face cards are not actually as good. They're essential, but they're not quite as, useful. I'm going to use my 10 again, and we're getting very lucky here. I got another 7. And this is a 7 damage card. So now, I have 2 7s. I could use my 7s and make the trade, but I think I'm just going to use this 7 to take this last card that won't flip up. Oh no! This is cool that this happened though. Okay, so this is when war ensues, very similar to how the game of cards, the other game, war, plays out. So, what happens is that if there's a card of the same value as the one that you used, you enter a duel or a war. And you're going to use your next highest card, or whatever card you want, and put it next to that one. And then the monster is going to use its next highest card to fight you. But this is the beauty of how I did this. The 7 does not have any other monsters to help it, so it loses by default. There is no other monster card in the wave, so it doesn't have any backup, but I have backup. It doesn't, so I win by default, which is really cool. That was a nice little win. So I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm gonna make the trade now that I got another 7. So we're going to do that. I got another 4. Okay, we're gonna use this 4. And we're gonna make the trade again, because I'm not having this today. Ouch. Seems sometimes making the trade really doesn't pan out for you. And I could make the trade again, which I very well might. And we're not going to play this for super long because you can do as many waves as you want, but this is how I'm just showing you. So we're kind of trying to just learn together, not so much of doing anything else. We're not trying to, me and my friends or my family, when we play, sometimes we will literally fight 20 waves of monsters and see how far we can get. So, we're going to do one more, I think, tonight. Alright, sorry about that. My microphone cord was bothering me. It kept knocking into stuff and making a little ding 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 sound. I don't know. Anyway, so we have our next wave here, and it's usually 6 cards. Sometimes I do 8. You can do whatever you want. You could do 20. Sometimes what me and my friends will do is we'll do a boss. We'll do a boss, and we'll do 20 cards, literally, and we'll arrange them in crazy ways, and you can fight them like that. So, one thing that I think I should explain in case you do actually want to play this for yourself is the face card abilities, because those are very important. And like I said, when you use a face card's ability, it is gone forever. You lose that card permanently. But I will start, and I'll explain those, and then we'll fight this. So the red jack is the face card. And the red jack can revive all of a player's used or dead damage cards. So let's say you had a face card, you already used it, you can't use it again in this wave. Let's say you used your 10, was fighting a jack, so your 10 lost and you couldn't use that one for the rest of the wave. If you had a red jack, you could use that red jack, discard it permanently, and revive both of those two cards. That way you could use them again. In this wave, the red queen, we already explained that one, revives a dead player or just resets a player's deck. The red king, when the red king's ability is used, it causes one flipped up monster card of the player's choosing to lose its value by 2. So therefore, if let's say you had a king, right, and it was a king, and that was the only thing left, and you didn't have a king, let's say you only had a jack, right, but you did have a red king, because you can't use the red king to actually attack, but you can use it to decrease that king's value by 2, making it able to be taken by a jack. Very useful. We use the red kings quite a bit. Now it's time for the damage phase cards. The blackjack. When the blackjack's ability is used, it allows the player to remove 2 unflipped monster cards from the wave and take them into your deck. If all cards are flipped up already, the jack can take 1 card of your choosing. Pretty useful, I think, because again, the blackjack is another one that we tend to use a lot. And so, let me see here. I'm just trying to make sure I wrote all this down so that I could remember. The black queen. When the black queen's card ability is used, it causes all unflipped monster cards to flip over so you can see what you're up against. Right? And then allows the player to take 1 of those flipped cards into their deck. If this does not apply to more than 6 cards. So if you're playing with more than 6 cards in a wave, then it'll only flip up 6, or it's supposed to, but you can do it however you want. If all cards are flipped, this effect does nothing. So you actually can't even use the black queen if you have all the cards flipped up already. So the last one is the black king. And when the black king card is used, it destroys an entire wave. And I shouldn't say, sorry, the entire front row of a wave. So essentially, this row, this is why we set them up like this. The black king would take this entire row, and just, you get all 3 of those cards for yourself. You would just be able to take all of those, no matter what the value is. Very, very useful. So then there's a couple other combos you need to be aware of, and I just have to find them so that I can explain them to you. The double, that's the make the trade. If you have double, you can discard it. And there is an ace streak. The ace streak is the hardest streak, or one of the hardest streaks to get. If the player collects 4 aces and merges them together, the player can create an ace streak, which when used, destroys an entire monster wave. So you could literally just take all 6 of these cards, and they're yours. Which is pretty cool. But when you do that, the aces are gone forever. You lose all of the aces and you have to discard them. A royal streak is obtained when all 3 face cards of the same color. So a black jack, black queen, black king is used, so you would have to discard all 3 of those if you use this ability, but you can merge them into 1 card. So you merge them into a stack, which allows you to actually have more cards in your deck too, in a way, right? a red royal streak will revive an entire team, and a black royal streak will take down 6 cards of any strength, so it basically does what the ace does, it'll destroy an entire wave. Then, let me see here. I believe that is all. Yeah, there was talk, and that's the reality. I never came up with a 5-card streak, so if you did get 5 cards in a row of like, continuing value, I never did that. Maybe I will someday, but as of right now, it does nothing. So I think the reason I thought that is because I've toyed around with it so many times. Anyway, that is that. Now you understand pretty much everything. And now that you're probably totally bored and don't want to watch the rest of this, we're going to finish. So I'm going to use my 10. I'm going to take this card. Usually I will slide the cards over to where I'm attacking, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to point to which one I was going to use, and then I'm going to flip the card. 5. My 10 can definitely take a 5, so that does not bother me. That's a good one. That's a really good card to snag. Now that I have more damage cards than I really care for, I'm going to use these 3s, and I'm going to get rid of the 3s and make the trade in the hopes that I get something. Oh, yes, the RNG has blessed us. We got a black king. I don't know what it's focused on, but it's definitely not focused on me. We got a black king. That's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. Quite good. That's going to be very, very helpful. Now, we're not going to use it, though, right now, because if I use it in any capacity, now, if I use its ability, I lose it permanently. If I just use it to attack something, I lose it for the rest of this round, this wave. So I'm going to save that king. I'm not going to touch it at all. And I'm going to use my 10, and I'm going to take this card right here. And I've been getting very, very lucky. I got lucky. I got an 8. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. Always make sure you're keeping track of your cards. I'm going to use my 10. I'm going to take this middle one. It's a 4. I'm going to use my 10. I'm going to take this card. Oh no. Okay, again, glad this happened. So, not for the game, but for showing you. My 10 is now useless for the rest of this round, and I lose my 4. It's a bummer, but this is what we deal with. But I have a king, so I'm probably going to be okay. Worst case scenario, I could use this card, wipe out the rest of this row, and take everything in there. Now I'm going to save that for the end, but I'm going to go with the 8, and I'm going to reveal all these cards first. It's a 5. I'm going to use those 5s because I'm getting to be having too many cards. And there's no benefit to me having 9 cards because I don't have any teammates. I got an 8, so now I have 2 8s. Which is cool, but I'm not really going to use that, if I'm being honest. I don't really think I'm going to use... I might make the trade. Use this 8 and take this card. Uh-oh, that's really bad. So this 8 is now useless. I have 1 8, 1 7, and a king. And then the queen and the 8. But actually I lost the 8 because they destroyed me, they hurt me. So things might not be looking too good. But I'm totally okay. Because I could use my king right now, the king ability. Wipe out both of these cards because it doesn't matter what their value is. I'll lose the king permanently. I'll gain a king and a jack in return. And I'll actually be more powerful than I was before. The only problem is I only have 1 health, which is not great, but it's a good health card, so I'm not feeling too bad. use this king. I am gonna do it. Goodbye, king. You were a good king. And I'm gonna take both of these cards into my own deck. And the wave is over. So I can flip all my cards that got damaged back. I get everybody's back. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use these 8s. I don't usually do this because it's just not something you should do when you're talking about cards that are this high value. I'm gonna make the trade. Just for fun, because we're not gonna be playing anymore anyway. And I got a health card, which is good, and it's a higher value health card than the damage cards I got rid of. So actually, that was a decent trade. Pretty rare at 8, but you know. And that's it. That is my game. I could do another one. I don't think I will, because this video's running kind of long. And I don't want to keep you guys here forever, and a lot of you are probably already asleep or just left because this was boring to you. But that is it. And I am looking pretty stacked. Like, this is a very nice character I have built here, if you will. And basically, it's the fun of not knowing what you're going to be up against, mixed with the deck building aspect, and even mixed with the co-op, because you can play this with other friends, and you guys are all in it together. Like, if you're a competitive player, like, you know, board game player, video game player, this is a great card game, because you're not actually fighting any of your friends at all. You're cooperating to fight another enemy. And I just see it tends to breed a more playful and fun environment where people, like me and my friends, whenever we play, or me and my family, whenever we play, you know, whenever you get the double card, everybody screams, make the trade, make the trade. It's like always a thing, even when somebody will have like 2 queens, and that's a terrible decision to ever make the trade with a queen. Everybody will be like, make the trade, go make the trade. It's a lot of fun, and people will give cards to other players, and that's always very fun too. Like, a lot of times what will happen is one player will carry the whole team and will basically get all the good cards, and will just be giving the scraps to the rest of the players. And it's fun too, because you can revive dead players and all that as well. Like, it's just a really, really fun game. I find it to be quite entertaining. It's hard to remember the face card abilities. That definitely adds complication, but it also lets the game work. Like, if that face card ability didn't exist, that king and that jack would be impossible for me to take. I wouldn't even be able to do it. It would have been over. I would have been done. And that happens a lot, so that's why face cards are absolutely essential, but you can only use them, like I said, their abilities you can only use one time and then they're gone. And I would also definitely recommend playing with at least a double deck of cards, but you could even use a triple deck like I use. Or you can just use a single card or a single deck and see how that works out. I haven't done that in a really, really long time. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. This was sharing something kind of personal from my life with all of you that I don't usually do. Hopefully some of you guys thought this was interesting. Maybe you guys are going to try playing it yourself now. You know, let me know if you do. If you do, let me know how many waves you get through. I think that would be a lot of fun. Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for watching this. I appreciate every single one of you, but I appreciate the ones who made it to the end all the more. And I'll see you